Do you ever have those areas of the garden where you know you need to get something done, but you've kind of been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off? Today, I'm going to be tackling the elephant in the garden, the thing that I have been putting off getting done for quite a while now, and today's the day it's going to happen. So behind me here, I have some archways that my wonderful husband built for me way back at the beginning of spring. And I have grown sweet pea flowers and shelling peas on these archways. Well, these archways are looking a little overgrown and a little tired. So I think it's time to pull these plants and make room for something new now that we're in midsummer here in my yard in Willamette Valley, Oregon. So it's time to get these cleaned up. I'm going to show you a couple of reasons why and just kind of show you the state of things. And then I think my goal is to get all of this stuff pulled today and put in the yard debris and then really try to make room for something else in my veggie garden. So here is the first archway, and you can see I've been growing shelling peas on here. Here's a little pea, and they are still producing like a few of them, but I just harvested what was left today, and I'll tell you, the peas actually inside are kind of bitter. They're not very well developed at all. And so these are really a spring crop. So you can see here a lot of the plants are they're kind of done, right? They're kind of crispy. I mean, overall they look okay, but it's really time to get these pulled out of here to make room for something else. Over here I have my beans. Now these are green beans, and these really need a place to go. So I really wish that I would have, underplanted down here the green beans so that they could be the next crop. So I definitely will do that next year, but I do have these green beans on some trellises, but they are kind of going crazy here. So another thing I thought about doing is I have this plant here, which is a vining squash. I believe it's either a butternut squash or it could be an acorn squash. You can see there's one little baby right there. And it is vining up like all over the place, and it's kind of taking over this bed. So I thought what I could do is try to train it up. Now, if we look on the other side, let me go through the tunnel here. You can see kind of what I'm talking about right up in here. So it's already attaching and wanting to climb. And so if I give it a little bit more room and a little bit more space, I think I can get these squash to climb up the ladder here, the trellis. And then I do need to kind of just get in this bed and really just kind of cut back some things. I've got a tomato in here, I've got some squash, I've got these green beans, and everything's looking a little crowded. And that can be problematic in a garden bed, right? Because that can encourage some mildew or mold or disease. So I'm probably going to get in here and kind of cut some things back today. So on this side of the garden bed, I have another trellising plant here. I have some cucumbers. I believe that's a cucumber. And I have some cucumbers down in here, and they're just not getting very much light or nutrients. So here's one that has started to trellis. Well, here it is here. So you can see I need to train it up, but I could start to trellis this. So here's the cucumber. It's already kind of started trellising. So again, it will get more light and more energy if I get these peas out of its way. And then over to this trellis, these are the sweet pea flowers, and they are still in bloom. They are really pretty, but they are really taking over. So if you look here, I apologize, it's kind of hard to see with the sun right now, but I mean, they're hanging way over this garden bed, over my tomatoes, which means they're stealing light and energy from what I'm trying to grow here. So I don't know if I'm just going to kind of cut these back or maybe pull them all the way out. Now they're also going to seed. So these are sweet pea flowers, but they will put out their seed pods. So, and you can harvest these, right? And then I can have these beautiful sweet peas again next year, which would be awesome. Basically, you want to wait until they get kind of more browned. So let me see if I can find one that's a little bit more ripe or done. I thought I saw a few over here. Now I do want to harvest these, so I've been kind of putting this off, but then I also noticed that this whole vine has aphids. So I'm a little concerned, and you can see how many seed pods I have there. Like, I don't need that many necessarily. But there are a lot of aphids in this plant. And yeah, I've noticed quite a few of the ladybugs over here, which is a good thing, but I'm a little concerned with the fact that there's, you know, aphids on this and them getting into my garden beds, because I want my squash and my tomatoes and such to be healthy. So not sure. Again, I've been kind of putting this off just because they are still blooming up on the top. But I might try to at least kind of trim them back today a bit and kind of get them more under control. But I definitely think the peas are going to be coming out today. So again, I've been putting off this task for a while, just because I do like the way that the archways look with things grown up. But it's getting a little out of control here. It's getting a little out of control, and I need more space and energy for my actual veggie garden here. So you can see how much that's hanging over there. And then on this side, again, I've got like tomatoes and things that I don't want to have aphids. So yeah, I'm just gonna get in here and start kind of clipping back and pulling out and seeing what I can do to clean up my veggie garden beds today. So let's get going on this. So another thing I'm going to do today is cut back a lot of this, these leaves from my zucchinis. Contrary to what you might think, zucchinis don't need all these leaves. Like, they do need some leaves for energy, but they don't need a lot. In fact, you can trellis them up with hardly any leaves and they will still produce zucchinis for you. You can see I have a couple I need to harvest here. So I'm also going to be working on cutting some of these leaves back. You can see I've done a little bit of a better job on these ones here as far as keeping the leaves under control, but those ones there are getting a little crazy. And here's an example of a zucchini. It's a yellow zucchini that I am trying to kind of grow up on a trellis. So you can kind of see what I mean here. It's working really well. In fact, I think this might be something I do again, or maybe even next year. I do have a couple here as well that are doing okay, but this one that I'm growing on the trellis seems to be really happy. So that's a good, it's turning out to be a good way to grow zucchini and squash. So the first task I'm going to get into are the zucchinis and squash, and I just wanted to share with you these garden sleeves. If you've never tried them, if you're sensitive to like things getting itchy basically when you're working in the garden, I would highly recommend these. This particular pair I'm putting on is from Farmer's Defense, which is a brand name, but they also sell them on Amazon for really cheap. And they're kind of knockoff ones, but I'll link some of those for you below. They work just as well. I just didn't find my other ones today, but I am gonna put these on before I go in and start tackling these particular plants. Make me very like itchy. So these garden sleeves, if you haven't tried them, they are really great. They do protect you from the sun and of course from the itchiness. And then I can just put my gloves right on top of here, and then I can work on cutting some of the stuff back today. So I'm gonna get all ready here, and then I'm gonna start with these squash and cutting back some of this overgrowth of leaves. I'm also gonna be starting kind of at the bottom of the plants and working my way up. And this will help with airflow of the plants because again, you can get powdery mildew and things if you're not careful with overcrowding. And you know, honestly, my garden beds are pretty, they're pretty crowded. They're planted pretty close. Everything's pretty close together, but these plants do not need all this leaf structure. They need some, right? They need to photosynthesize and have some leaf structure, but they really don't need all of this down here. So it's a good idea to go through, if you're growing any kind of squash, and thin them out. Now the one plant I don't do this with is my pumpkins. My pumpkins just kind of take over and do their own thing, and I don't worry too much about it. I'm also looking for ones that overhang the bed, because when my husband weed whacks and mows, they kind of get damaged anyway. So I can get those out of the way. Okay, I've got one zucchini here I'm gonna harvest. Oh, this is fun. Squash bugs. Killing the squash bugs. Killing all the squash bugs. Gross. Okay, well, this is the other reason it's good to inspect your plants every once in a while, because I seem to have some squash bugs, a squash bug problem. And that is a big problem. I've been killing them as I see them. Those were all babies. So hopefully I got a lot of them. Oop, yep, here's more babies on this leaf. I don't know if you can see those. Those gotta go. Let's get these out of here. Squash bugs are so hard, because once you get them, it's really hard to get rid of them. And unless you spray some kind of pesticide, which I don't want to do on something I'm eating. Okay, so now I'm going to get in here and really look underneath all the leaves for any squash bug eggs. So those little dots right there, those are squash bug eggs. So I'm going to get rid of all that stuff if I can. So yet another reason to get in here and kind of manage your zucchinis and stuff. Okay, so next I'm going to start working on these pea plants, and I'm just going to pull them out from the bottom and then just start pulling them out. And I went ahead and harvested all the peas I could see that were ripe enough. I already did that this morning. But again, this is going to allow a lot more airflow, discourage things like bugs from taking up stock in my garden beds, and just kind of clean up this area. So up in here, there's a couple cucumbers that I'm trying to be really careful with those vines and separating them from the peas. And the peas have moved over all the way to this tomato cage and are basically like trying to take over the tomatoes as well. So this is kind of a dicey little area here. I'm trying to So on this side, I have those vining squash that are needing a place to climb. So I think that's going to work out just fine. I think I'm going to have other things that will continue to climb up. I need to groom said squash a little bit. But yeah, it's already wanting to come up this vine. All right, so here's what's going on right now. I thought I'd get this spot in the shade, but of course now I'm in the sun and it's looking a lot more cleaned up. This is my stuff for the yard debris, and I might go through it and just see if I see any little chubby fat peas that I missed. There's also a kind of pile on the other side, but look at these cucumbers. They're all the way up there. They've got baby cucumbers going. So this is kind of my pile on the other side. So not too bad. So now this is the plants. This is kind of the side I'm going to work on right now. So you can see that one is starting to climb. So I'm going to go grab some of my garden twine too and kind of get in here and work on vining up some of this other stuff onto the trellis now. First things first, I'm going to get rid of some of these ginormous leaves. I don't think we need quite all of this going here. It's all about the airflow. Now this one is kind of helping. Now there's also like a vine right here. So I don't know if I can pull that over or not. Still a pea plant up in here. All right, let's go ahead and keep getting some leaves going out of here. And I'm gonna also be looking for squash bugs while I'm doing this. Okay, so next up, I just grabbed some garden twine. This is just some that I had. And I think I'm gonna try to, wrap a few of the cucumbers and the other squash up the trellis that I've cleared out. I'm also gonna replant a few of the cucumbers into better locations to help them go up the trellis. So that's what I'm gonna work on next with some twine. Okay, so here is the after shot of one side. I've been at it for a little while, but I wanted to show you kind of what I'm doing. So I clipped all of the zucchini way back. Another reason I didn't mention before is because the bees can't find the flowers when there's that many leaves. So that's another reason to keep on top of your squash and get them trimmed back. So here is the cucumbers that are climbing up, and then I replanted this one here and then that, which I think is also a cucumber. I'm losing track of what's what, and I did just kind of help guide them up. I didn't really put any yarn or twine on this side, but I think they're gonna do well over here. And then this one, I'm growing up a tomato cage. In the middle are tomatoes. And then on this side, I did quite a bit. So this is another squash here, and I think this is my acorn squash, which I'm super excited about, but I have a couple of those. So I took some twine and kind of, tried to guide them up the trellis here. So like here's another one that I'm trying to guide up this trellis. This is another one here, and it doesn't look real great right now, but again, I'm hoping I can angle it towards that trellis and get it growing up that direction. This vine here is, I'm just gonna leave it. It's doing its vining thing. It's got fruit, so I had no idea that these would do so well and be so vigorous. But underneath I have a couple peppers and basil and stuff. And then over here are my green beans. So what I'm gonna do with these green beans is they're sending off all of these shoots, right, they wanna twine and vine, and I don't have more room, but I did have this extra little trellis. And so I just stuck it in the ground. I'm gonna make a little auxiliary patch here, a little bed, and then I can take all these extra tendrils that are coming, and I can, use this to kind of wind them around and hopefully bring this kind of so it goes up and then, back down into this trellising system. The other thing I did is over here, same thing. The ones that are coming all the way up, I'm just pulling those twine or those vines back down and wrapping them back down around themselves. I clipped some of that tomato back, and then I clipped quite a bit of this too. So these were underplanted with a couple squash, which are just going to have to kind of come out into the garden bed. But you can see there's another one of those acorn squashes. But it did open up a lot of room down here for these green beans. These are green beans that are bush green beans under here. So I wanted to let some light into those. So I did quite a bit of pruning of some of those, you know, big leaves. You can kind of see where I've cut a lot of those leaves just to let the light in. Unfortunately on this bush, I'm dealing with some buggies. In fact, there's, oh no, that's a bumblebee. See if I can find one for you. They look like a ladybug, but they are yellow, and they are, they will eat your leaves here of your green beans. So if I see any of those, I'm trying to squash them, but unfortunately they fly away. So that makes it problematic. Anyway, this whole area is looking so much better. I feel like the plants are going to be happier. Everything's got a little bit more room to breathe. Hopefully I can get some new things trellising up and get those green beans out of here. Yeah, so I was able to fill my whole debris bag with the green beans. And of all the green beans that I looked through to see if there was any more to harvest, this is what I got. So again, I think it was the right decision. It was the right call to go ahead and get rid of those, let the light in. So now I've got to deal with this side. And this is the side I have not been looking forward to. I don't know. I think I'm just going to cut everything back. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to start with cutting everything back, and I think I might use one of my electric trimmers. I might try to harvest some of these flowers. I don't know that I'm going to bother with harvesting the seeds, because if I really wanted to harvest the seeds, I would need to let them get all the way brown. I might have a couple like this one I could maybe harvest, but you have to let them go brown and really, you know, get all the way brown to harvest them. And I really don't have any like that, and I really don't want to leave them. So I think I'm going to go ahead and at least trim this back today, so that again it lets a little bit more light into the garden and gets rid of a little bit of the aphid problem I've got going on. So this is my next task. Okay, so I'm going to be using this tool. This is from a brand called Worx, W-O-R-X. And you can actually change the blade. So it's just a little trimmer tool. I'm going to be using this today to help me kind of tame these sweet peas today. And I got to go grab my gloves. Okay guys, so here's what I was able to get done this morning on both sides of my arch trellises. So that trimming tool made quick work of this side. I basically just kind of trimmed everything back. I sprayed it really good with the hose to try to eliminate some of the aphid problem. There are quite a lot of ladybugs on this plant, so hopefully they are helping out with that aphid problem. But I did spray it down really good, but I like the fact that I was able to keep some of the blooms up here at the top and sort of the, you know, kind of that the cover of the archway, kind of that secret garden look or whatever that I was going for. But I did trim it up quite a bit. I got a lot of those sweet pea plants off of the tomatoes, so hopefully that'll let a lot more light in, and did give it a good spray down. So that's about all I did to that side. And then of course this side we already talked about. So it's looking really good. It's definitely cleaned up. It's sad to say goodbye to the shelling peas, but I have a feeling in no time at all I'm gonna have some other things that are gonna be starting to crawl up this trellis, because these garden beds, this veggie garden is looking so healthy. So anyway, I think it was a good transformation this morning, and I'm definitely happy that I quit putting off this task and was able to get it done this morning before it got too hot. All right, friends, well, that's going to be it for my yardening tasks here today. The sun is getting high in the sky, which means it's time for me to go inside and get a glass of iced tea because I'm getting tired. I hope that you liked checking out the video and that it gave you some ideas about doing some summer maintenance to your veggie garden, and gave you maybe some ideas for your yard. If you need me, I'll be hanging out here doing some yardening my Oregon yard. And if you liked the video, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean the world to me. I'll see you guys later. Bye.